Okay, and I'm back. I noticed that the music was a little bit low in the last broadcast. Let me know if it's too loud now. I adjusted it. You got here early? Wow, I hope you weren't waiting around that long. Sorry. Yeah, my computer's kind of crappy. I'm gonna replace it, and then I'll be able to stream for way longer. And hey, Cramel. Yeah, it was just a quick break to let my computer cool down. Also, I had to eat lunch. So this stream is going to go until I need to pick my cat up from the vet. And I'm not exactly sure when that will be. Alright, right back into it. My nerves had been acting up when I first stepped back into the classroom. Made even worse when I was hit with another flashbang. He had 2 of those. After my 20 other classmates had finished laughing, Mr. Iadican made a show of waving a freshly taken photo from a fancy fold-up camera from the 70s. I dubbed this portrait the Student Sans Police. After he thumbtacked the shot on a corkboard filled with poor snapshots of everyone else, Mr. Iadican reassured me and sat me right next to Ben. He managed to sum up his syllabus in under a minute instead of taking the majority of the time to go over our first lesson and assignment exposure and lighting. With each new light fixture he brought out and explained, I felt my mind swirl faster with new possibilities of old shots. If only I had that then, or if I could have used that there. Now that you've had a small taste of it, we'll start you on your first photography assignment, proper lighting. I'm salivating at the thought. Mr. Iadican had just finished his first lesson where he'd handed out all sorts of equipment to look over. It's the first time I've handled some of these things, like the enormous box light that was still taking up the entirety of my desk. Remember, though, that these are just tools meant to enhance the photo. You can highlight a turd all you want, it's still a turd. Words to live by. The crude language guarantees a chortle from the few half-listening students. The teacher looks over at the clock. The teacher looks over to the clock and hums. Well, I see that we managed to finish this lecture a tad bit early. Why don't you all take these last 10 minutes to compare notes? Maybe even consider doing the assignment as a collab piece with a classmate. Lighting that is quite proper. You couldn't see it, but I was adjusting an invisible monocle. The room is quick to fill with the sound of chatter. I wonder if Hey. I turn to Ben and see his eager grin. Do you want to do a joint piece, since you don't know any good spots in the school and all? I pull out the assignment sheet from beneath the lightweight light on my desk and give it a quick scan again. Present a set of photos demonstrating your understanding of proper lighting. You are allowed to borrow one lighting tool and must take the shot on school premises. And I swear I've handed out this assignment for years now. If one more student just takes a picture of the hallway outside the classroom, I'm going to personally throw them over the railing. Be original, please. I've got the perfect place for it. If we work together, we can even use 2 items. The offer is too tempting. I want a mod for Wani that literally only gives Inko a fedora. It would be really fitting, honestly. Sure. I hold out my hand, and Ben takes and shakes it, sealing the pact. My face is feeling weird from all the smiling today. And it's never commented on, not even by Inko himself. Aw man, okay, but imagine ending 1 if he was wearing a badly photoshopped fedora, like it's not even drawn, it's just a PNG. Kind of unintentionally funny. I might learn to mod and make that myself because it sounds really low effort. I wouldn't be able to change the animations, though. But in truth, I'd been enjoying Mr. Iadican's class so much that I couldn't stop. It feels like the entire world to gain from Mr. Iadican's lesson. and the entire world to explore, seeing as ever since the move I haven't had time to actually explore Volcadera Bluffs. Sure, on occasion, I go out on my own to parks and stuff, but who doesn't? Besides, I'd be a pretty lame photographer if I didn't go out and find stuff to photograph. And you know what? I've been meaning to do a little looking around here. So to everyone else, the fact that he's monologuing internally in real time, he's not speaking out loud, but this is happening, like... Evil Inko is wearing a hat and has hair. So, to everyone else, this assignment makes them have to explore the school, but I get to. A pretty sweet deal, if I say so myself. Yeah, I might consider making that mod. There's so many mods for Snoot Game, it's gotta be really easy to do. The hall outside the classroom is only... Sorry. Okay. The hall outside the classroom is only one major photo op. Between that and the murals outside, I'm certain to find something cool. No, the murals won't work on their own. Since it was my first thought to use them, that means it's likely someone else's first thought. I need to think outside the box a bit. Maybe think of some way to use the school's architecture to my advantage, in a way that... Inko. My thoughts are disrupted by a worried-looking Ben. Maybe you should see a doctor, man. Head injuries are no laughing matter. I'm fine. What were you saying? I was asking how you were doing, you know, with school and classes now? Oh, right. Doing good. Really good, actually. I'm in a class that I'm 100% enjoying and starting to make some genuine friendships. Compared to the disaster of yesterday, today has been astoundingly positive. That's good to hear. Yeah, I've even got some friends now. Great. Oh, and what about your art submission? Was Liz able to help? There's something nibbling at the corner of my thoughts at the mention of the long-necked girl. Yeah, she gave me my login stuff and everything. Uploading the submission was a piece of cake after all. Awesome. Though that does make you competition now. Both Liz and I have pieces in the running, too. She told me she had submitted something, yeah. I'm a bit concerned, since I didn't have as much time at all to prepare anything, but... Hey, everyone's got a chance. You never know. One moment, your cat is crack? Back. I'm gonna assume that you meant to write back. Sorry about that. I thought that I muted my mic. Oh well. This is really doing a number on my throat. I don't normally talk this much. Will you play a new fan game from... The emoticon in the side is blocking part of this message. From Snoot Game Developer? There's only a beta version now, but the game is still being developed. Yeah, that sounds fun. Also, I got a large portion of my audience from playing Snoot Game and Wani, respectively, and, like, these are really good games also, so I definitely want to continue to support this, like, fan community. Oh, you mean your cat is on crack. Understandable. Mine sometimes decides to start crying at 10 p.m. for no apparent reason. Yeah, what is the game called? I'll look it up after this. Anyway, back to the game. Yeah, she was pretty cool about it, too. That whole friend group is pretty welcoming. I think I'm pretty lucky. Lucky? Ben seems perplexed by my statement. You said something at lunch when Olivia vanished. I'm noticing for a silent paraplegic, she sure has a lot of people upset. You got some hidden drama with her, too? No, not really. Wait, two? Who? Iadican calls out to us, striding over to inspect. Devlog. Okay, I'll look into it. Iadican calls out to us, striding over to inspect. I take it you gentlemen are conversing about your assignment together. Of course, Mr. Iadican. We were just discussing where we'd like to take our picture, right, Ben? Well, that's good then. Good thing you guys weren't talking about something off-topic, like gossip. That would be pretty embarrassing. That would be a pretty embarrassing use of your time right off the bat, I think. Especially considering you're currently the subject of some fairly humorous gossip, aren't you, Mr. Inko? I'm awash in a wave of shame from his words. I look at Ben and I can see he feels it as well. If the air around someone needs clearing, clear it yourself. Iadican has a point. Maybe once a friendship is established, I can learn more about her. You could send their YouTube channel? Oh yeah, sure, go ahead, like... you could, probably post it in chat. Alright, off you go now, and remember to get your assignment done by the end of the week. The room empties out slowly, and most of my peers still chatting and discussing their plans for the assignments. Before I can continue talking with Ben about our own project, the Stuco president is already packed up and exiting the room. I guess we'll talk later then. Packing up my own notebook, I wave goodbye to my new favorite teacher and head off to my next class. Ah, I'm gonna miss him. Walking into history class for the first time, and it's about what I expect it to look like. Pictures of historical figures, small relics from various regions, and cartography of the Earth during its stages of continental drift. Though I notice that there's a distinct lack of a teacher in the class. Must be finishing up their lunch, I assume. Well, better get a good seat now before they're all taken. Eeny, meeny, miny... This one. I settle myself into my chosen desk and pull out my history book and notebook, along with a pencil. As the classroom fills with more and more students, it becomes a blur of vibrant scales. A few minutes pass, and I'm still wondering where the teacher is. The suddenness of the door slamming open stops any and all noise. It's quiet enough to hear a pin drop. The figure walks into the classroom and... Oh, sweet heaven, no. He stands there and stares down at everyone, menacingly. He's the history teacher, too? Thanks for walking me to my classroom, Solly. Of course, Miss Prockling. Oh, thank Raptor Jesus, he isn't our teacher. The Raptor woman adjusts her glasses as she scans around the room before looking down at the paperwork in her hands. Looks like we'll have some late arrivals, but let's get down to business. I know that I introduced myself yesterday, but for any of those who weren't here... Her momentary glance at me makes me believe that Solly told her about my absence. My name is Miss Prockling, and this is history class. In this course, we'll be learning about the history of our primeval ancestors and their advancements through history. You can even say that it'll be like going back in time. Doesn't that sound exciting? Despite her admittedly forced enthusiasm, I'm voicing those lines completely wrong. Everyone in class responds with uninterested murmuring. Miss Pauling, yay! You can see a snoot game where there is two human characters and one of them points out how their names are literally just words cut up to say an actual name. That'd be funny. Not sure why, though. This all sounds exciting. She walks over to her desk and places down her pile of folders before flipping open her own special version of the history book. With a click of a button, she also turns on the projector to reveal a prepared slideshow for today's lecture. Oh no! Somebody gave her Miss Piggy's voice? I'm not even gonna attempt to do that because it would murder my vocal cords, but that sounds hilarious. I gotta look that up after this. Thanks for the tip. To learn about the extensive history of Saurians and their culture is something I've yearned for. If you can turn your books to page 36, we'll begin the first chapter detailing the earliest interaction between Saurians and hominids. I'm saying it in the voice that I'm saying it in, but now I'm reading it in Miss Piggy's voice. Oh, that sounds interesting. I think I jinxed myself. Miss Prockling's history class is the polar opposite to Iadican's photography class. While her introduction to the class engaged me at first, things have slowed down into an unbearably slow crawl. My eyes scan over the introductory text of the first chapter. Despite the tension between the two groups, human settlers to the New World would continue to make overtures of trade with the native Velociraptor tribes. Pretty sure I've read this line 3 times now. I tear my eyes away from the page in the hopes of blinking the boredom away. I look up to see the teacher staring down at various papers on her desk with laser focus. I must have stared too long, though, because I end up locked in a staring contest with Prockling. She raises an eyebrow at me. Okay then, write down notes of pages 3 through 7 about the discovery of the New World. Without even fully comprehending the words before me, I'm copying the page down to the letter in my notebook. Absent-mindedly, I begin to recall everything that's happened so far with my new classmates. Ben carries himself with a lot of refinement and is easily my first pick as a photography partner, but that Mia girl, she doesn't seem to want to make friends. Of course, I could have figured that out from the cold look she gave me yesterday, not to mention the rude hand gesture. Damien's very friendly, even if he can be a bit too enthusiastic sometimes. And though my encounter with Liz was brief, I can tell she's dependable. My progress in making friends has been pretty good, all things considered. But then there's Olivia. So far, she's still an enigma, and coupled with the apparent history she has with the others, it makes me all the more curious about her. Liz said it would be a bad idea to get invested, but in the end, it's effectively gossip and hearsay. This had come as something as a shock to me, but... And what do we have here, Miss Halford? The sudden voice of Miss Prockling snaps me out of my thoughts. No, Crammel, I can't see the link. I don't have anything... I don't have anything blocked in chat, so it's possible that links are just blocked. You could post it, like, on the comments of any other video, and I'll see it and be able to click on it, probably. As far as I know, they don't allow people to post links in stream chat, and I'm not sure why. Though it's probably to avoid spam and stuff. I lean my head to see the teacher looking down at... Wait a minute, Olivia is here too? As luck would have it, I share not 1, but 2 classes with Olivia. I must have been so jaded from trying to read this textbook that I didn't even notice the girl in the wheelchair. She sits in the front row, diagonally in front of me. And I don't think she's noticed this strange twist of fate herself. Only the second day of the school year and you're already doodling in class again? She proceeds to pick up the piece of paper from Olivia's desk. It looks like she's been drawing on it, though I can't tell what they are from where I'm sitting. Listen, Olivia, I know history isn't the most exciting subject to learn, but could you at least pretend that you're taking notes? The only response that I hear from Olivia is a heavy sigh before leaning her head back down. While the teacher returns to skulking around the room, Olivia hunches over a notebook. Although I don't think those are notes she's taking. Nah, no one would do something like that with a totalitarian teacher patrolling the room. It's an attempt to get all of us to focus, but... I'm fighting a losing battle to keep my eyelids from shutting. My jaw is clenched tight to suppress the loud yawn building inside, even as Mrs. Prockling skulks right past me. Your history teachers were both the funniest in your school? Yeah, I had a really awesome history teacher, too. Definitely made the subject interesting. My jaw is clenched tight to suppress the loud yawn building inside, even as Mrs. Prockling skulks right past me. Just before my drowsiness can overtake me, though, I notice minute movement in the corner of my eye. One of my classmates glances up at the teacher, whose eyes are roving over the opposite side of the room, and down to scribble something down. The paper is then folded into a neat little note, and... I watch as the next person carefully unfolds the sheet and also scribbles on it, before folding and passing it along again. Oh yeah, I have seen the Olivia Pizza Tower mod. I kind of feel like I should play base Pizza Tower before I play it modded, though. It looks really interesting. Curiosity thoroughly piqued, I await anxiously in my seat for the paper to get to me. It's a dangerous game, passing the note along, so Prockling doesn't see. If I'm participating, does that make me a slacker? The student to my side makes his move to toss the note over. But Prockling starts turning around right then. He flinches and drops the hot potato on my desk in a flash. I nearly slam my own paper over the page to cover it from sight. Mrs. Prockling continues to lecture about how the raptors and humans eventually started to get along because they traded narcotic leaves or something like that. Aw man, American history would have been so much nicer if that was how things went down. And as you can see on the board here, now. I lift my paper. Luckily, there's plenty of space left. As for what everyone else has drawn, a not-so-solid attempt at a race car, rough sketches of some eyes, a bunch of doodles, names in various stylized fonts that I could only describe as graffiti. And, of course, it's not high school if someone hasn't drawn a penis. Miss Prockling, with stink lines coming off of her. Yeesh, better not get caught with this. That being said, I'm drawing a blank. What should I draw? I don't exactly doodle every day. Drawing stuff for others is a nice gesture. Maybe I'll try to break the ice a bit. Although I don't really know anything about her. Hey, can't hurt to try, though. Yeah? I can think of a few things to sketch out here. Let's see. Okay, what am I gonna draw? I know. You are correct, it is indeed Fang. With the longest snoot possible. Yeah. And done. I didn't have a lot of room to really work with, but as I surreptitiously admire my work, I find that I have a long way to go. It feels like I'm being mogged by the other doodles. Alright, Olivia's sure to like this. Miss Prockling is still turned around. Alright. If I slip the paper over Olivia's shoulder, I won't have to get up and risk getting caught. And here we go. It's a bit tricky, and I hesitate, but the paper meets its destination. She doesn't even look back, just takes the paper eagerly. It's completely different from how she was acting earlier. Her tail is even swaying side to side. Oh, is that wagging? Huh. Fatima from Goodbye Volcano High. Alright, now she's gonna see my sketch and possibly think I'm cool. She's not turning around. Well, it's not much, so it could also just... I'll be taking that. Miss Prockling snatches the paper from Olivia's claws. She holds her arms out. She takes a glance at the paper, and a small crack of a smile appears on her face before going back to its stoic visage. Snoot so long you could land a plane on it. That's one of my favorite memes to come out of Fang's character design, is just the progressively longer and longer snoots. I kind of want to get one of those plushies off Etsy that they have. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff on AO3. So, this is how you view me, Miss Halford? Frockling holds the paper up for all to see. Everyone in the class does their best to avoid her persecuting gaze. I know most of you were part of this as well. Look, I'm not asking for much, but please do your assignments when you're in class. It's the least you can do. We were just passing a note one at a time. She wasn't even paying attention. Yeah, how come all of us are in trouble? I noticed Prockling look down at Olivia for a moment before letting out a sigh of defeat. Look, since it's only the second day, I'll let this one slide, but I'm warning you now that I won't be so lenient the next time it happens. Otherwise, you'll end up like the last student who decided to be disruptive during class. What happened to him? Get a detention slip or something? Miss Prockling pulls up the window blinds and pushes the window screen open. She then takes out a walkie-talkie. Solly, yep, another hippie, seat H4. He dead. Good job, soldier. You can buy Prockling mistaking a pic of Fang for a pic of herself. Oh, that wasn't what it was. One of the doodles on that paper that we didn't get to see was her with stink lines coming off of her. Now, if we can, let's continue. We're on the second floor! I sink back into my seat and continue writing, mainly out of unadulterated fear of experiencing the same wrath from the teacher. I am not personally responsible for any disturbance caused by people clicking on fic recommendations from chat that I did not recommend myself. This is a legal disclaimer. I am fully exempt. Proceed at your own risk. Man, now I feel guilty for Olivia. I was the one to pass her the note, after all. Maybe I shouldn't have tried. Well, I can always apologize after class. Miss Prockling places the note and continues with her lecture for another half hour. With 10 minutes of class left, I see Prockling look at the clock above the door. I then notice Olivia grabbing her attention, and as if she knew what she's already going to say, the teacher nods her head. Olivia grabs her backpack and shoves all her things into it. In silence, she wheels herself to the door, opens it, and rolls on out. The teacher must have noticed me watching her leave. Accommodations. Well, there goes my chances of saying sorry to her. Feeling defeated, I decide to focus on writing down my notes for the rest of the time left. Although I do wonder. She must have noticed my doodle. Did she just ignore it, then? Class comes and goes, and I head back home on the metro. Another day, another dollar. Though this time, I pass on the mini breakfast burritos. After how bad they messed me up during PE yesterday, I don't want my stomach to endure that torture again. Instead, I just got a few hash browns from a fast food joint by the metro. I idly scroll through my feed, as I usually do, while the metro jostles about to my destination. It's been a few days now, and the strange scent of extremely cheap detergent and alcohol have become an afterthought. Some of the vines are actually plastic, and the flowers are little air fresheners. That's not actually something that I noticed, more so witnessed when a passenger tried eating one. Some of the vines are real, though. For some reason, they go untouched anyways. Maybe they're just not tasty? Vegetarians don't eat the grass in their lawns, after all. Right? Huh. Anyways, the lights have gone out, and someone just dropped a wrecking ball next to me. Must be Mr. Ferris. Good morning, Inko. Good morning. Has work been going fine? It has. Slowly, but I'm very thorough. I hate the idea of a place of learning not being an ideal place to learn. and I appreciate our talks. Your perspective has really helped me understand the student body more. You're welcome. Hey, have you given any more thought to the fashion thing? I have, although I can't say I really get it. There's plenty to see everywhere if you just look around. Really? Like what? Well, like, look at the girl on the other end of the car there. It's rather revealing. I don't think that's really for me. I love my wife. I mean, as an example. Well, there's an event coming up. I could see about trying something new. What would you recommend? That's a good question. What would be good to use here? In my inner eye... Oh, here we go. This is great. I conceptualized the coolest possible Ferris. The fresh machine is going full throttle. First, sunglasses. His eyes may be a little too far apart for that. However, beanie. Moving on. Big guns, fresh jacket. There we go. Coolest possible Ferris. Mr. Nito. Sorry, just thinking. Why don't you start with... The sunglasses were the least distracting thing. Really now? Those all sound rather expensive. Yeah, they are. You know what? Try a gold chain necklace. A what? Yeah, just make sure it's appropriately sized so it doesn't look silly. I'm sure it would go a long way, and they're pretty cheap to get. Well, alright, I'll take your word for it. We sure talk about fashion a lot, though. Is that really all everything's about these days? Oh, of course not. What do you want to know about? What's yaolao mean? I've heard the term thrown around recently. That was like 5 years ago. Oh. Mr. Ferris and I talk more about contemporary urban slang until we arrive at our stop. Reverse Snoot, you play a female dino, maybe a pterosaur who isn't a member of the student council, who moves to a human city and attends a human school. Can't see Trish and Reed interacting with Inko. I think that would be chaotic. Aw, that would be really interesting potentially, though. Ah, art. Mr. Iadakan had just started talking about our first project for the class. As soon as he said the word, Olivia's hand shot up. Her gray eyes sparkled in excitement, and a smile threatened to crush the perpetual frown etched on her snout. The girl vibrates in her seat as she waves her arm in the air, trying to get the teacher's attention. Iadakan's own smile was strained as he and Olivia engaged in a staring contest with one another. I could only marvel as the two argued with each other without a single word. Eventually, Iadakan won by turning off the lights and turning on the cheap projector hanging from the ceiling, and playing a safety video about paint that felt far too graphic for a school setting. I don't think I'll be able to eat barbecue for a while. Thoroughly defeated, Olivia crosses her arms and pouts in her seat. And that is why we won't be using any of the more exotic materials for any projects, Miss Halford. Ugh, maybe I should have just skipped breakfast entirely. I still don't see the problem. Once you've had all the proper safety handling... Once you've all had the proper safety handling course in the second semester, you'll be allowed to use oil-based paints. Until that time, however, all the assignments will require safer supplies. Reed and Damien interacting? That would just be like Wayne's World. Now, since we've pivoted to this, might as well finish the full video. The grumpy Gator holds a hand to her throat, mumbling to herself as she grabs a metal flask and drinks from it. The entire display from her was mystifying, at odds with how Ben and Liz described Olivia. In fact, it kind of reminded me of me. I can understand why, after all. Iadakan is letting Ben and I use some of his equipment in photography. That thrill of experimentation, of new possibilities. No doubt that it brings a creative sparkle to her eyes. Eyes that fill with pure malice as they glare daggers my way. Oh, was I staring? Before I could offer an apology, she already had her hands on the wheels. She rolls up to Iadakan's desk. He leans forward intently. I can't make out anything that's said through the video, but going by the occasional glare back, it's not hard to imagine. Crap, I really didn't mean to offend. Iadakan notices that I'm watching and motions for me to come forward. Slowly, I shift out of my seat and approach the desk. Alright, is something going on here? Iadakan speaks in a hushed tone, just loud enough for me to hear over the makeshift matinee. Olivia's telling me you're making goofy faces at her? No, I said he's been staring at me all through class. Huh. It's weird, like he's never seen someone like me. Can't you move him to a different seat? Now hold on a sec there, Olivia, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Mr. Iadakan... It's like she's a different person here. She fishes out a canteen of water and brings it to her mouth. They don't have ears? I think they have ear-like protrusions on the sides of their heads that allow them to hear, kind of like lizards do. And frogs. You're given a lot of leeway when it comes to seat assignment, but asking for something like this... I just want him to leave me alone. She sips again. What's that about? Well then, Inko, you tell us. What's on your mind? I can't have disagreements between classmates this early in the year. I'm confused. I didn't know there was any disagreement between us. Well, sometimes it's the little things you do that you don't even think about that affect people the most. Anything like that come to mind? I shake my head. Olivia's glare doesn't diminish away from my field of view. I mean, I've been a bit curious about her since we sit next to each other, and I'm friends with some of her friends. We all sat together at lunch yesterday. Iadakan nods to himself thoughtfully. Sounds like he just wants to hang out, Olivia. Her face scrunches at the mere thought. Not really interested. He's distracting me from classwork. I want to watch the video without being gawked at. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Does that resolve the issue for you, Olivia? No, I don't want some buddy in this class. She goes to take another sip, but ends up turning the canteen upside down. All out. Olivia, you can go fill that up if you want. You won't be missing anything. The video's nothing you don't already know, I'm sure. Olivia eyes me suspiciously and slowly moves out the door towards the nearest water fountain. Iadakan sighs. All right. He leans back in his chair with his arms resting behind his head. Inko, I told you yesterday, if the air needs clearing, to do it yourself. Now she's in a mood because you were staring at her like a weirdo. And here I thought you two would get along. She even gave you that sketch she made of you. Truthfully, I'm impressed, but here we are. What's going on, big guy? Again, sorry. It's been a pretty busy few days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gotten into a cool friend group. We're all gonna sit together at lunch. Olivia's there too. She didn't say much, but I got her a soda. I don't know why she's upset at me. It's nothing personal, Inko. It's not? She's reticent, especially when it comes to change. If you're at her lunch period too, I can see why she'd be wary of you. If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Iadakan? Yes? Why is she so open with you? How do you mean? Just now, she spoke more in that conversation than all of the other times I've seen her yesterday. I saw the canteen. I figured it's something to do with her voice, but it's surprising. Her water bottle's the other way around. It's unfortunate, but she just really rarely talks at all. And I guess she just really trusts me. I've known her since she was a freshman. She seemed to gravitate towards art and how I taught it, and soon enough I took her under my wing. But she lives with Damien, right? He's at the lunch table and she still barely talks to him. Poor kid. I hope he's doing alright. He seems to be alright. But yeah, she's distant to everyone else. So much so that I keep hearing weird things about her. Iadakan leans forward in his chair, suddenly attentive. Is this about you gossiping with Ben yesterday? A bit. He showed up to the table and said something about her being the same after she left. Probably some drama there, but I don't want to pry. He nods. But also, Liz told me some weird things too. He stops nodding. I know of her. Is something wrong? No. She just said that I shouldn't get invested in being her friend. Everyone's being real weird about it, so I was curious for myself. Guess that's why I was looking at her weird. Sorry. Iadakan rubs his temples. Aye, it's worse than I thought. What is? I'll put it this way. You've met 3 people that know Olivia, other than me. Of the 3, only one thinks highly of her, and the other 2 start unloading drama on anyone willing to listen. In this case, you. No wonder you're confused. I hadn't thought of it like that. I don't blame you. You shouldn't be involved in anything stupid. High schoolers, you know? I guess? Iadakan inhales, collecting his thoughts. Important question, then. Do you really want to be Olivia's friend? Huh? I mean, I guess? A judging eyebrow is raised my way. Are you really, or just curious about her? He seems pretty serious about this. Yes, then. Olivia returns to class and rolls right back up to the desk. Back. Have you changed his desk yet? Iadakan nudges his head towards me expectantly, prodding me on. I'm sorry I distracted you during class, Olivia. She looks to Iadakan and gets a similar nod. Sure. I mean, you're welcome. I mean, thanks. Shit. But, no, really, I don't want to be distracted. Come on now, Olivia. The least you could do is give him another chance. You never know. I don't really want to know. I get he's, like, friends with Damien, but I don't really want to, you know... Not in this class. But I'd like to be your friend. She stops and raises an eyebrow. Lots of those going around recently. Like she was expecting this response. She looks to Iadakan for help. Actually, Olivia, I also think he'd make a good friend for you. What? His words were like a battering ram. I'm simply saying to give Inko here a chance. I could almost see the imaginary bulwark she hid behind slowly crumbling from what Iadakan was saying. You are both quite similar at heart, though you may have different methods. Perhaps you'll find some compromise behind cynicism and naivety if you work together. Finally, the last fragments of her imaginary fortress collapse, and Olivia can only look at the art teacher with timid confusion painted across her features. Well... I don't... Are you for real, Mr. Iadakan? I am. He's actually in another class of mine. I've seen him. He's passionate about his camera like you are with a brush. And I do expect great things from him. Okay. Sorry, I really thought, Oh. Oops, she accidentally bit her tongue. Her mouth is clamped shut. It's just my opinion. You can make your own choices, Olivia. She nods furiously. Whoop, the movie's about to end. You two should get back to your seats. We good here? Olivia side-eyes me again and nods once more. All right. He motions for us to skedaddle. Olivia backs away to her spot. Thanks, Mr. Iadakan. For what? I just gave an opinion. I'm serious. It's up to the two of you if you want to be friends. Don't screw it up. He waves me off again and gets up to flip the lights. I get back to my seat and stare absent-mindedly at the projected screen as I digest Iadakan's words. He said he only gave his opinion, but it seems like he also gave me an opportunity to take the right steps in connecting with Olivia. And with what he said about her being passionate with a brush, it's gotten me even more curious about her artistic prowess. Speaking of whom, I noticed that she occasionally gives me a side-eye. You want to see Mr. Carl Dusky re-interacting with Solly? That would be pretty funny. I don't think she can see my eyes due to the dim lighting combined with my shades. She stares at me with a sense of strange curiosity, almost as if she's trying to get a read from me from my face alone. But from what I can tell by her facial cues, she seems confused and almost shaken up. It's like she wants to say something but keeps on backing away at the last second. Guess her mind is also jostling around from Iadakan's words. Our teacher flicks the light switch, and I feel my retina burn from the bright lamplights, even with my sunglasses. Alright, normally in your first week we'd be doing something simple, like a color swatch wheel. However, I think you all could manage something a bit more advanced. The Gator girl's head whipped around at the word advanced. Whatever Olivia was thinking before regarding me seems to be forgotten as she focuses almost entirely on the teacher. Mr. Iadakan holds up a stack of paper for us to see. First things first, I'd like for you all to fill out these topic sheets so that I know you understand how to safely handle the oil-based paints. Last thing we need is another burnt-down classroom. The way Iadakan says those words makes me imagine some pretty horrible outcomes. Once you've finished your sheets, bring them to me so that I can review them. I'll be giving you the permission sheet after I know you lot won't set yourselves on fire or poison yourselves. The Allosaur guy in front of me hands back the stack, and I take a page from it before handing the rest to the Diplo girl behind me. My eyes scan over the sheets. What grade of mask do snouts longer than 3 inches require? And a realization hits me. I didn't see the first half of that video. My eyes scan over the page, and I groan when I see questions I have no answers for. All of them pertaining to dinosaur anatomy. The art teacher looks directly at me, and then to the side. I try to decipher his meaning, to follow his eyes. Oh. I turn in my seat and lean closer to Olivia. Hey, what? What now? What? What is it? I'm not gonna let you draw me. What the hell? Looking at her paper, I see that she's already answered the questions that I couldn't. I show her my own page, tapping the upper section that was still blank. Olivia groans and looks to Iadakan pleadingly. All she gets for her troubles is a thumbs up. Fine. Fine, fine, fine. She holds out her sheet for me. Wait, isn't this cheating? The art teacher wouldn't... When did he get to his desk? Why does he have a sleeping mask? If I look over the answers, I still learn the safety procedures. So what's the difference in the end? That must be what he's thinking. Either that, or he doesn't care. I copy the words from Olivia's sheet, doing my best to at least rephrase them. Some of my classmates are already walking up to Iadakan's desk. He's barely reading the pages, not even taking the sleeping mask off. It's another odd world-building thing. Anon and Inko act like they've never interacted with dinos before, despite coming off as typical American kids in a world where typical American is a dino. That's a good point. It seems like certain regions have, like, areas that are more predominantly dino and areas that are more predominantly human. Though it could just be because they're supposed to be a stand-in for the player. You can't get used to the phone keyboard always sending a message before completing it. Oh, I hate when that happens, yeah. Given that Anon and Fang could have a baby dino, could 2 half-dinos, who take after their dino parent, have a human kid due to recessive genes? Probably? I like all these ideas. Imagine if we all somehow start creating our own visual novel out of nowhere just because we randomly find each other's ideas interesting. That'd be cool. Thanks, Olivia. Whatever. Olivia finishes her page in a few seconds and wheels herself to the desk, too. The last answer I'm fairly confident on. Like, what flashpoint means. I get up and go to Iadakan's desk and set my safety assessment down. Good, good. Here's your permission slip to use hazardous paints. He didn't even bother to look over my worksheet. He lifts the eye mask from his face and looks at me with one eye. What? Most of that stuff doesn't apply to you, Inko. Just don't drink the paint or get it in your eyes and you'll be okay. Yes, Mr. Iadakan. Are oil paints more toxic to dinosaurs than humans? 'Cause I was gonna say, I painted with oil paints and we didn't have to take a safety course. Attaboy. Now back to your desk and wait for class to end. Tomorrow, I'll be starting you all on something simple. Like painting a cube or a ball. Yeah, a model dodgeball painting. The eye mask drops down and I return to my seat. The class's clock reads 5 minutes until lunch. Olivia's back to leering at me. I consider what I should do or say, some sort of icebreaker. Mr. Iadakan said we're similar, and I can see some of what he means. But I'm a photographer, and she's a painter. So, a cubist and a Dadaist walk into a bar. Have a good lunch now. The moment the bell rings, Olivia shoves most of her things into her backpack, not caring if her notebook gets crushed. Once she zips up, she races out of the classroom. I guess she doesn't want to get caught in the chaos of the lunchroom stampede. They really hate the cold weather. Maybe dinos are much rarer above a certain latitude. Oh, that would make tons of sense. Considering how some have feathers, I feel like it could be species related too. True. Flashpoint is an overhyped The Flash story from DC Comics. Well, I mean, the Ezra Miller movie certainly didn't do it any favors. I managed to avoid getting stuck in the frenzy by shuffling along the wall of the long way around the lunchroom. It's a bit longer, but at least there's less risk of getting used as an improvised meat club. Hey, why don't I just go through the courtyard? It's right there next to the table. Damn it. Feather tax, because dinos with much of them doesn't need as much clothes. Well, they would definitely have to buy less. Hey, is there a palm tree or something by the table now? I've never seen one with a trunk that's green. I get around the last of the crowd and approach the table. Damien's here, chowing down on a sandwich stacked with various meats, and like yesterday, Olivia's already at the table. Hey Damien, you seen Liz? I thought she was joining us for lunch. Without a word, Damien points to the palm tree next to us. Oh crap, that's no tree. I look up to see Liz's head in the rafters, prodding at the vines on the ceiling. The ceiling was a lot lower in the computer lab, so I couldn't tell as easily, but that neck is long. Anyways. Hey Liz. Hey Inko, couldn't see you from up here till I heard you. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and get my food from the vending machines again. Making my way over to the vending machines, I do the same song and dance I did last time. A card swipe and a few button presses later earn me a couple of cans of soda, 2 bags of chips, and a few candy bars. It's like when the teacher asks you if you brought enough candy for everyone, only now it's true. I head back to our table, the bundle of foodstuffs in my makeshift pouch, and distribute them. Olivia gets her share, but she doesn't say anything. Ah, sweet. Ah, why thank you, Inko. Damien, if you'd be so kind. Already on it. Damien cracks open a can of soda just as Liz lowers her head next to him. She's wearing a novelty soda cap. He then speed swaps the old can with the new one, almost like he's swapping wheels on a Formula 1 racer. The hat of Schmitty Werben Jaegerman Jensen. He was number 1. Thank you. No problemo. Liz's head cranes back up to the top of the ceiling to continue eating the foliage. So, Nico, how's your day been so far? It's been pretty decent, I'd say. I'm mostly looking forward to photography, since Ben will show me some good photo spots. Cool, cool. Damien just nods as he continues to munch on his sandwich. I think he zoned out about halfway through my sentence. Oh, and also, Liz helped me to submit my contest entry. Awesome. Can always rely on Liz to help you out. Flattery will get you nowhere, Damien. Just saying the honest truth. Liz entered the contest too, right? Everyone must be trying to win the cash prize. The money's okay. Liz comes down again with a mouthful of leaves. Her hands hold up a tray, with each segment filled with a different sauce. But the real prize is having your submission featured on the sponsor's magazine cover and in a featured article. How is she still articulate? Oh, you started to... I wonder how cartoons in shows would be played out in the Wani-verse. Yes, you're calling it that. Fair enough. You started to imagine various awful racist historical stuff between humans and dinos before deciding that that was world building that you didn't want to build. What about world breaking? Yeah. I mean, there probably would be a ton of tensions, but, like, it's not really fun to dig into that aspect of it, honestly. Because that's too real. We already have that. Anyway, you have any idea how great that looks on a resume? Heck, I can probably get a scholarship with that alone. Whoa, you really got all this planned out. What did you submit? She takes a moment to swallow her salad and then shares a huge grin. I submitted my best digital art piece. Ooh, what is it? Here. The tray is set aside so she could bring out her phone to show Damien and me her entry. It looks to be a village townhouse piece, very rustic and classy. It looks pretty good. Yo, that's so cool. That looks so realistic. Thanks. Took me about a week to really blend some of the more fanciful elements into each other. I based it off my grandmother's home from the old country. This is amazing. You can't even tell that this whole thing's digital art at all. Damien grabs hold of Liz's phone and turns towards Olivia. Hey, Olivia. She jumps up, having been suddenly made relevant to the conversation she was just spectating. What? I'm not giving these chips back. They're mine. I was just gonna show you Liz's entry. Olivia narrows her eyes and leans over to see the image on Liz's phone. She then looks up and gives Damien a quick nod before returning to eating her chips. Damien's smile falters a little at her minimal response, though he's back to his usual grin as Liz takes back her phone. Wow, Liz, I didn't know you were so into digital painting. That looks great. Do you plan on being an artist after graduating? Aw, man, you can tell from Liz's face that she's really disappointed by Olivia's reaction to her painting. Aw, thanks. Well, no, I don't plan on being an artist, per se. The plan is to be an antiques dealer, specifically with art. What's that mean? It means she buys the splattered canvases everyone else just uses for money laundering. Ha, no, it'll be the real deal stuff. There's a real market out there for it. So I'm taking the AP business class and using the school's prestigious art program. That's actually why I picked this place out. There's a real elite selection of graduates from here. Oh, you're the school treasurer too, right? Sure am. I'm doing everything to make sure I'm ready for the real deal. I do love painting, though. It's just not an ends to a means. Maybe that's why I want to get into trading. I can get the right people the right art they need. That's very thoughtful. Huh. I should start thinking of my future more. You're gatekeeping. Once again, I am not responsible for people who are disturbed by fics recommended by members of chat. I wonder what Olivia thinks about this, if it even interests her. Damien is just exaggeratedly nodding his head up and down, and I don't know if he's agreeing with Liz or headbanging to some tune playing in his head. I look to the side to see Olivia staring down at the chip bag, looking pensive. I guess I'm not the only one that's a bit worried about our long-term plans after school, compared to Liz. But we got the whole year still. What about you, Damien? Don't really have a big goal set. The only reason I'm going here is because it's the closest school to our home. Damien, you know I keep telling you about planning ahead. I know, but I like keeping my options open. So what are you doing in school? I just picked out any classes that seemed interesting to me. Though I gotta say, home economics class is pretty fun. I get to make food in class and eat it, too. Okay, so projected future, Liz and Damien get married and he becomes a house husband. That is what I'm seeing here. From learning skills in a class like that, you'd be a perfect husband. Yeah. Wait, what? What? Awkwardly goes back up to the ceiling. But to get back to my point, that art contest. If I win and get that interview, it's an insane advantage. I'll say. By the by, Olivia, did you submit something for the art contest? Oh. She looks away, slightly deflated. No. Really? Oh crap, I might have a chance then. Hey, Liz, that sounds a certain way? Ah, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Olivia rolls her eyes and merely goes back to munching on her chips. Mr. Iatakan said you were really into painting? And I really like the portrait of me you'd made. Whoa, she what? Her suspicious leer is now replaced by a murderous glare. Yep, lunch is the perfect time to eat my feet. I haven't actually seen any of her real work, only something that she'd done out of boredom. Olivia's eyes close as she inhales deeply, the air of neutrality returning to her once she reopens them. She looks me up and down again, as though something will be different this time. Can't. What's that mean? Besides, even if I could, they're gonna be looking for the best artists here. You gotta show that to them with how good your art is. But I just don't want them to look at me and feel like they have to give me a reward out of pity. Damien's face is frozen mid-bite, his sandwich losing its meat integrity by the second as his eyes flick between Olivia and I. I can practically hear the blaring alarm in his head as his brain catches on fire trying to connect the dots. I want to be judged for my art and not... Olivia struggles to formulate the next few words and lets out a weary sigh. It would just feel undeserved. How? Yeah, how? Damien, shh. Has that ever happened before? Do people really do that? You weren't there for it. Some losers used to even tell me to take advantage of it. Why not? That was a bad move. Dude, seriously? Why? So I constantly get reminded of myself? So I can't separate myself from my work? So I can get complacent being worse? So I can eventually rely on it? So the playing field can be even? That's a lot all at once. I'm not even sure I got all of that, but I definitely touched a nerve that I shouldn't have. No, sorry. Olivia brushes her hair down. Look, I don't want to get awards and praise that I haven't earned. I'm seriously not that good. I really wouldn't win. She sighs and takes a long sip of cola. Can I see some of your work? No. Man, she really shouldn't put herself down like that. I get it, a lot of the students here are crazy good at art. Some are probably better now than I ever will be, and they're just starting. It's pretty scary to think about. I mean, like that landscape of the city near the principal's office. Landscape? Hold on, I took a shot of it. It's a bit tough getting my camera out now with all the books that I need for class in the way. I lay out the contents of my backpack, taking my treasured DSLR out at last. After finding the shot in question in the menus, I turned the display towards everyone else so that they could see the glamour shot. A freshman made that painting. Just from looking at it, I can see why it won first place. I drew that. Oh. Her name is on it, isn't it? My brain finally makes the connection with the signature on the mural. That was you? Is it that much of a shocker to you? Quite a bit, yeah. It looks amazing. I mean, it's whatever. Had to have some dumb guide help me out, so it isn't like I was the one who did it all. So, when you say you can't enter, is it because you already won once? Yeah, basically. She looks away from us, eating her chips in silence. I've heard the expression of being one's worst critic, but I'd never expect Olivia to kick herself this hard. I'm mentally kicking myself thrice over just thinking that last part. What? Something wrong, Liz? Did she bite her tongue or something? Why is she imitating one of those pitcher plants right now? Liz? What's with the look, Longneck? Just surprised to see you in better spirits is all. You're making it weird. Don't make it weird. Yeah, it's been ages, Olivia. To think a Randy like Inky here got you to open up like this in just 2 days. He gestures to me. What'd you do, man? The girl in question freezes, Damien's thoughtless comments having thrust her into self-awareness. And she just leaves. Olivia, wait! She's gone. Well, she did give a warning. Yeah... I was just excited she was making good progress. The rest of lunch, we'd spent trying to talk about Liz's art process. Damien looked like he wanted to try to bring Olivia back into the conversation, but no one had any idea where she had gone. Still, a part of me thinks she wants to talk, so why doesn't she? Sadly, a question for another time, as Olivia's departure seems to signal the end of lunch. At least Liz and Damien wave goodbye, leaving me to clean up all of the trash from the table, including everything I'd removed from my backpack. Darn it. Wish everyone had a friend like Damien. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Photography class comes and goes. Since we're partners, Iadakan gives Ben and I the green light to walk around the campus. Ben shows me around to see his prime photo spots and such, and as such becomes my impromptu tour guide. It's actually pretty neat to see the parts of the school that I haven't explored yet until now. Places like the music hall and recreational pool were the most interesting to see. Currently at the courtyard, Ben points out the views of the outer landscapes around the school. No wonder why Ben was so eager to show me. These views are impeccable. But while he's explaining the image he has in his head, my mind still wanders back to Olivia. I wonder what I did to make her express herself so much. Inko? Inko? Huh? I was asking if you'd be available sometime during the weekend to take photos. Oh, I'm free on Saturday. Excellent, we can meet up back here. Sounds good. As we head back to class, I begin to think if there's something I can do in history class. Don't peck at the views? What did Damien and Mia do at this art-focused school? Well, Mia is a theater major, and Damien is just here because it's close to his house. 9 hours video? You won't survive that. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a long time. Back in history class, Miss Procklin continues prattling on about... And after a final offensive that left the entire city of Triceroptis destroyed, the Chthonian hegemony was defeated, bringing an end to their crimes against both dino and humankind. So it sounds like humans and dinosaurs were united against a common enemy of some kind, but there's still some leftover racial tension. Interesting. With that, the Dino-Human War came to an end, and peace was finally declared after 10 years of strife. Of course, there was the matter of rebuilding and dousing all the fires still burning, as well as what to do with all the bodies, and... I should probably care more about Procklin's lecture since history has extremely strong cultural connotations, but man, is it boring. Ahead of me, Olivia has returned to her default, sullen, deflated gloom. She's not glaring back at me, so she's probably over whatever that was. Or she still doesn't know I'm here. Boy, will that be entertaining to see. Assuming that I don't end up with a mechanical pencil jammed through a lens. The other students are similarly bored, only occasionally marking down something whenever it sounds like it'll be on a review sheet at the end of the week. There is, of course, no more note passing today. Miss Prockling's effusion yesterday must still be on their minds. There won't be any more chances given, and even though she doesn't seem threatening on her own, the consequences would be dire, especially if she can still call Solly over her own over like her own personal enforcer. There's simply no getting around it. This is just a period we'll all have to sit through. And there isn't even any solidarity to be had in our shared misery. It's simply the reality of high school history class. The only saving grace is that she isn't stalking around the room looking for us to do something wrong. Someone else pointed out to me that the name Chthonians comes from H.P. Lovecraft, giant worm monsters. Well, that's the thing. Chthonic is often associated with H.P. Lovecraft because he's really famous for making Cthulhu, and you would think those words have the same origin, but Chthonic actually historically means originating from underground. So it could be either Lovecraftian stuff or some completely other, like, mole person situation. Oh, sorry, Chthonic specifically means the underworld, like the land of the undead. So zombies, maybe? You are not going to force me to read AO3 fic. I am not reading shit off of AO3 for free. I am charging by the paragraph, and I'm not sure what the starting price is. Instead, we're being lectured at. My hand mechanically copies down whatever she's written on the board. And while I should also be paying attention to what Miss Prockling is saying, I'm more than certain that we'll be reading the exact same things from our history textbook. So my eyes wander away from her and the board to scan over my peers, all equally as bored and feigning interest. Eventually, there's a bit of movement ahead of me. What's she up to now? Olivia folds a sheet of notebook paper back and forth discreetly, creating a deep crease. Then she licks her finger and runs it along the crease and gently pulls. Sorry. I don't have a lot of free time. Too late, now you're now you're imagining armies of Hans Moleman creatures. The paper rips along the seam silently. Oh, is she really risking it? What's she even got to gain? It's just a note-passing game. Maybe she feels bad because she got caught yesterday? That is true, I did say I would do it for money. Oh boy. Olivia passes the note to her left. The student next to her raises an eyebrow, but surprisingly takes the note, and immediately passes it on without looking at it. One by one, my classmates pass the note along to the next. Nobody dares to open the note and write something in. I surreptitiously keep track of the note in the corner of my eye as it makes the circuit around the room. The question is how much? I don't know, like 50 cents per paragraph? Is that too low in this economy? Should it be $1? I don't know. I'll have to talk to my financial advisor about it. Thankfully, Miss Prockling's eyes are focused on the board when I feel a tap on my shoulder. $30? You know what? Fair, depending on how many chapters there are. That's fair. I could get dinner with that. I reach for my ear as if to give it a scratch, and the folded page is pushed into my waiting fingers and against my ear. As I feel an edge grind against my earlobe, I chew my lip to keep the hiss of pain contained. Probably unintentional, but a paper cut still stings bad, especially on such a fleshy part. My fingers toy with the bundle of paper now at my desk. No one else had bothered with it. I wouldn't exactly call it an empty canvas, but there could be potential here. There's a crumpling noise beneath my fingertips. Must have unfolded it while I was thinking. Looking at the sole doodle on the sheet, I see a pretty simple rat drawing with a very realistic hand next to it giving a thumbs up. There's plenty of space this time, guts foreshadowing. And Mrs. Prockling is preoccupied at the front. I doubt she'd even notice. The temptation is there. Hey of Nightmare. The temptation is there, making my fingers itch at finally getting a real chance to do something fun in this sleep-inducing class. In fact, I've got the perfect idea in mind that'd catch Olivia's attention. If that doesn't ruin everything, that is. She's not uncompassionate, but Miss Prockling has a lot less tolerance for horseplay in her class. We probably wouldn't get another chance, and going by Coach Solly's one-chance policy and how these guys aren't even considering playing along, I bet it really wouldn't be pretty. Kinda makes me concerned for Olivia. I could just hold on to the note and give it back after class. Heck, Olivia would never even know. I don't think she even knows I'm in this class. Draw the Gator girl on a half pipe, let's go. First choice that matters. What's life without a bit of risk? I wait for Mrs. Prockling to start a new tangent to make sure I have enough time. She just said something about the single continent movement. Time to move. This is going to be basically a stick figure, but it's just a doodle. If only you could doodle a photograph. I'm not sure what I mean by that. I also don't know how to draw a wheelchair. In the end, it looks more like an abstract depiction of a bow-legged T-Rex than I wanted to. I have high standards. We can't break through my defenses. I don't think 30 bucks is that high standards, but okay. I'm not that interested in AO3 Fix, but if anybody wants to recommend mods of Snoot and Wani to play on stream, then I would be down for that. Because I haven't played any of those yet. Oops, it'll have to do. I check it over one last time, as if I had the conceptualization to improve it. Ah, well. I pass the note forwards, careful to not notify the teacher. Olivia takes the note over her shoulder, once more, not checking it. She seems to deflate a bit on opening the note, probably because of all the blank space. Doesn't look like she recognizes whatever I did either. Maybe I should talk about it with her after class? I don't know, seems like an okay thing to do. She just passed the note again. What? Once more, the process of students taking the note and passing it along without looking at it. Although this time it's a little more collectively annoyed. It probably won't go around again. Why the heck would Olivia send the note around again? Nobody's gonna change their mind and draw something now. Is it desperation? Thoughtlessness? Whatever it is, the note's coming my way again. Once I take it, I confirm that yes, once again no one else wrote anything. However, there is a new doodle of a rat with a flamethrower from Olivia. Cute. Alright, I guess this time I'll draw... How about adding myself to the sketch of the half-pipe? This time I just depict myself as a stick figure. No use trying to go outside my skill level for a note-passing game. Favorite of the Wani ones has to be Inko Noted. A Trish Route mod for Snoot game. Puppet Pals. I have heard of Puppet Pals. I've seen thumbnails of people doing it, but I haven't actually clicked on it. The Trish mod for Snoot game is pretty bad. Best to wait for the purple game. Puppet Pal Mods has a few racy lines. Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm concerned about the mods, because there's potentially stuff in there that's even more offensive. But, like, I'm not monetized. And it's not like just because I read something offensive, that means I endorse, like, whatever it is, you know? I don't know. I'll find out. It's simple enough to do. I even include my sunglasses. Yeah, I've also heard good things about Fishing Trip. I learned about El Gigante, and that's pretty much all I know. Yeah, I'm liking this. Maybe I should also make sure Mrs. Prockling isn't looking my way. Yeah, she's not right now. I'm in luck. Alright, time to pass this on. I pass the note forward once more. Olivia pinches the note between two fingers, still not looking back. I keep saying that, but I guess it's not weird. Why would you look back in that situation? She checks the note and looks a bit down again. She glances up to the corner I'd drawn in. Crack! I nearly fall out of my seat from the sudden loud noise. There's a moment of unwavering silence before a voice speaks up. Miss Halford. The girl in question shrinks in her seat in embarrassment. Sorry, Miss Prockling. I, saw a spider. Sorry, my throat's getting irritated. Gonna grab some water real quick. Okay, back. Miss Prockling simply sighs, muttering to herself and turning her attention back to writing more notes on the board. All the fics that you've been reading has only enforced your hatred of Parasaurs? Since all the Parasaurs in Snoot and Wani are really hateable? There's a couple of fan games that are in development that seem pretty promising. Rebirth and Recovery is a good Wani mod with nice reviews. Yeah, for balance, there should be a... there should be, like, a Snoot-verse game with a Parasaur that isn't a jerk, or at least is, like, the love interest or something like that. She turns her head back slowly, just enough to be able to make eye contact with me. While she eyes me with judging contempt and curiosity, I see her hand is tenderly massaging the tip of her tail. Looking at the floor, I think she managed to chip the linoleum. As soon as Prockling turns around to continue teaching, Olivia scribbles something down. She turns to look at me once more, hesitating, and then she flicks the note in my direction. It completely misses me. I try to catch it mid-air, but I end up slamming my face into my desk to get it. Mr. Nito, what was that noise? I palmed the note into my sleeve and strained to keep my injured eye open. The teacher probably meant the foot stomping. I found that spider, Miss Prockling. The teacher grimaces. That better be cleaned up by the end of class then, Mr. Nito. Yes, ma'am. I breathe a sigh of relief as my excuse weathers Mrs. Prockling's stare. She turns a few pages in a textbook lying on her desk, instructing the class to do the same as she searches for something. She's distracted. I can finally see what Olivia drew. There's now a surprisingly detailed dodgeball whizzing towards my stick figure's head. I want to be upset, but I find myself admiring her motion lines. Seriously, she should be an animator. I mull over what to add and settle on giving the large rat sunglasses as well. A few seconds later, he looks twice as cool as before. I look up to Olivia, pondering how to get it back to her, when a sinister idea comes to mind. Her hood hangs open as it rests on her back. It's a tough shot, but... Bingo. Olivia scratches at the back of her neck and finds the note. She looks back with squinted eyes, judging my intent and scanning me for foul play. She mouths something at me, a question I think, but I'm not the most apt lip reader. Especially when said lips are thrice as long as a human's. Still, she unfolds the page, and seconds later, she's already added a new sketch and folded it up. The note lands neatly on my desk this time, and I inspect the latest edition. More rats doing decidedly non-rat activities. I wonder what she'd think of a cat this time. We continue passing the note... We continue passing the sheet back and forth, adding new sketches and adding the two others. My fingers are starting to tire when Mrs. Prockling addresses Olivia. All right, Miss Halford, you may leave now. Everyone else, you may take the last 5 minutes to start on your own homework. Olivia takes her time to pack away her supplies, occasionally glancing my way. Gone is the paranoia. It's now become just plain confusion. As if I wouldn't play the doodle game thing with her. Even as she wheels out of the room, I notice her eyes still on me. I give her a wave goodbye, and she seems shocked by that, turning her head and finally passing through the doorway. Right then, homework. Ah, crap. It only now occurs to me that there's a pretty good reason the teacher doesn't want us slacking off during class. For the last 5 minutes, I try to speed read the second chapter in its entirety. Failing to get any good information to use for today's homework, I resolve to just check online for a lecture that isn't as boring. Maybe one with some good animation, even. When the rest of us are finally excused, I realize that I've still got a page full of doodles. Considering all the stuff on it, it'd feel like a waste to just toss it away. I decide to keep it, slipping it into one of my binder's extra plastic sleeves. With everything safely packed away, I shoulder my backpack and exit the room. Man, now I get why Olivia gets to leave some classes early. The halls are so packed and chaotic once class ends, I always end up being pushed around by rowdy students headed toward their next classes. Once school ends, it's even worse. When I saw it yesterday, it was something else. The word riptide comes to mind. I ended up just waiting around for a few minutes before the flow to die down. It's looking like that's just going to be my routine now. All the choices add different branches? That sounds really interesting, and also really in-depth. I pass by a few more art displays on my way to the stairs back down the first floor. This isn't the art wing, but there's still a bunch of displays up. Maybe there simply isn't enough space? Something presses into my chest and lurches me to a stop. It's Olivia, holding an arm out to stop me. She's still staring up at me, though less suspiciously. Her jaw's open, but no sound comes out. She realizes her hand is still out and retracts it awkwardly, indecisively darting between her hoodie pocket and her armrest. Is she expecting something? Oh, the note, maybe? Hey, You could have told me. Huh? That you were in Miss Prockling's class, too. You could have mentioned that. Sorry, I guess I was sort of aiming for a bit of a dramatic reveal there. She brushes her hair aside. Well, whatever. Later, I guess. 3 romance options, each with 3 to 4 endings. Dang. Why did you stop me out here? She stops her chair mid-turn with gray eyes contemplating the dirty floor. I don't really get you. Olivia's eyes turn back to me, and now I can see the nervousness in her pupils. Why do you care? Why indeed? Well, I guess the main reason is... I want to be friends. With me, though? Sure. Those tiny moments in which I saw the Gator Girl hyper-animate come to mind, and I can't help but smile. Those small shows of just genuine feelings. I think Mr. Iadican was right, honestly. Olivia hums in disagreement, finally turning away. Ah, crap. Maybe that was too forward of me? I swing my backpack around so that I can reach inside it. I, still have that note. Note? What, with the doodles? From class right now? Why? I just figured you'd want it. It was fun filling it out and all. Just as I'm about to pull out my binder, the Gator Girl looks back at me and shakes her head. It's just doodles. You can throw it at... Keep it. If it's so important. For the briefest second, I swore I saw her mouth form a tiny smile. But now she's back to looking neutrally at... Huh, didn't notice the school had elevators. Oh, looks like the vet is calling. I'm gonna have to go. Thank you to everybody who showed up. I might be back later, probably not. I will be streaming a different game tomorrow.